Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy February. So, I have no idea if the groundhog saw its shadow or not, but I am here this morning to talk to you about something that I see very often in my practice in individual private sessions as well as in group experiences, and that is this pattern of blaming. So, uh, for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Kara Hanks, and for the past 30 years, I have been working with people at various levels physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual to just help them to grow and evolve into the best version of themselves. And so today we wanted to talk about blame. And it's not the obvious blame, but it's kind of the sneaky blame that seeps into our relationships and into our day to day that we often miss. And so uh, I want to give you a few pointers in one, how to recognize it and what to do with it. So we we see it most when we have this situation where our partner might say something to us, maybe our children overstep the boundaries that we set and they're not listening, or we have a friend that cancels on us. And when these situations rise up, oftentimes we start to feel our nervous system immediately get triggered. We get frustrated, we get irritable, we can probably feel the heat and anger rise inside of us. And our mind starts to reel about how they hurt us or betrayed us or crossed us or in some way damaged us, right? And so we start spewing anger and we start sharing our story. And we find ourselves telling the story again and again and again and again. And so the thing is, it's not our anger that's wrong. It's not that our feelings aren't validated. Um, it's that we're missing the message in this situation that happened to us. And the real situation here is that the nervous system is going into this blaming pattern because it's trying to protect you. Your ego is trying to protect you. And when we blame someone else, what we're trying to do is avoid the real truth, the scarier truth that's underneath it. Um, that information, that wound from maybe childhood or past lives, or even perhaps more recently, is is trying to stay covered, right? Your ego is trying to protect it. Your personality is trying to protect you um, from looking at that wound, dealing with the wound, or having that wound be visible to anyone else. And the truth is that when we react in a way of blaming and trying to point the finger at what someone else did wrong that is causing us uh, discomfort or disease in our space, is that um, we are trying to ignore the wound in us. And the invitation is really for us to deal with the wound once and for all so that we don't get triggered into the blaming game anymore, right? Because the real truth is that when our partner dismisses us, we don't feel heard and we don't feel worthy. When our children um, do not respect our boundaries, we fear that we are not worthy of being heard, right? And so there's just a lot of issues that rise up that can trigger this tendency and this pattern to go into blame. And so uh, most of the spiritual community, or what I found is that a lot of the spiritual community will say, well, just rise above it, or, just choose love, or, just forgive and forget and move on. But I want to ask you a real truthful question, like how easy is it, honestly, to forgive and move on, to just let everything go, right? Um, and what I found is that it's not easy, right? It's not easy at all, because that trigger, that wound, is still uh, gaping open inside of us, and um, it is calling for attention. It wants to be healed, right? And so the longer we ignore it, the larger and larger the blame game becomes. And we can see it in our society right now, right? We've got left blaming right and right blaming left. And, you know, what would it look like we, if you came to a space of neutrality? So the next time you catch yourself in this situation of blame, where you want to project your anger onto somebody else, you want to continue to tell your story of how someone crossed you, I invite you to just pause, put your hand on your heart, take a couple of deep breaths, and then ask yourself, what am I really feeling underneath the anger? Because there is another emotion that typically comes up with anger. It's not usually just anger. It's usually something deep and underneath. And then second question is, where have I experienced this before? Did I experience this in my childhood? Did I experience this in a work situation? What type of relationship or environment did I experience this type of situation where I was perhaps betrayed or abandoned or crossed in some way? And then finally, what does that part of me need right now? What does it need to be soothed? And uh, I get it. It's hard to fix that in the moment, but the first step in breaking a pattern is taking the first step, right? We need to decide that we want real transformation and that we don't want to stay perseverating in the blame game or in the hurt, because what it does is it zaps our energy, it lowers our frequency, and it pulls us away from our heart-centered truth. It pulls us away from our soul's expression, and it inhibits us from acting and living from a space of kindness. And so we need to determine if we can be courageous enough to take a look at this, right? Because some of us, myself included, have been stuck in blame games for months or maybe even years, because oftentimes it's because we don't know, right? Because when we don't know what we don't know that we don't know, it's hard to fix it. And so if we can start to recognize when we get triggered with anger and we start to project that anger outward and um, want and desire to hold someone else responsible for what has happened to us, that's when we can realize that we are in a blame trap. And it's really up to you. Do you want to stay in the trap, or do you want to find your way out of the trap? So asking these three key questions, which I will put in the comments for you, is really key in the moment. And then looking at them later. It's not just looking at them in the moment and then moving on. That too is spiritual bypassing, right? It is actually doing the work, diving in, and asking the hard questions. All right, so I will see you Wednesday here, right around the same time, about 8:30, 9 o'clock, to provide a transmission of energy for you. And I hope that you have a fabulous first week of February. Let me know in the comments. Does this resonate with you? Do you ever find yourself stuck in the blame game, blame trap. I know I have in my life, and while it's less than it used to be, I can still find myself. In fact, I had a situation just last week where um, that was difficult, and I went into a process of trying to validate why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. So I want you to know I use my own medicine, and I hope that you'll join me in your process of growth, and let me know what you think.